Botswana, a landlocked country in southern Africa, consistently ranks as one of the most prosperous and stable nations on the continent. This achievement is even more remarkable considering that, at independence in 1966, Botswana was one of the world's poorest countries. Today, it stands out as a model of good governance, economic management, and social stability, while many African countries with similar resources struggle with instability, corruption, and economic stagnation. But what explains Botswana's success story? In today's video, we will explore in great depth the historical journey, strategic choices, and key factors that set Botswana on a path to prosperity, offering valuable lessons on resource management, governance, and social investment that other African nations might draw inspiration from. To better appreciate just how far Botswana has come, it is crucial to shed light on the country's colonial history. Before British protection in 1885, the region now known as Botswana was called Bechuanaland. Unlike other colonial territories seized for economic gain, Bechuanaland held little economic appeal. It lacked the rich resources, such as gold and fertile land, that enticed the British to invest heavily in regions like South Africa and Zimbabwe. Instead, Bechuanaland's significance lay solely in its strategic location. Positioned between British-occupied South Africa and territories to the north, it served as a buffer zone against potential German encroachment from the west, present-day Namibia. To the British, Bechuanaland was a low-maintenance addition to their empire, one that required little oversight or investment, but provided a valuable safeguard for regional interests. Due to this limited economic interest, Bechuanaland's development under British rule was minimal. Infrastructure was almost non-existent. There were no railways, paved roads, or large-scale agricultural projects. The local economy consisted mostly of subsistence farming and small-scale cattle herding. The protectorate's sparse resources and arid lands were deemed unworthy of serious British investment, resulting in a stagnant economy with few opportunities for growth or modernization. The British approach in Bechuanaland differed from that in colonies where they saw high economic potential. In such places, colonial administrators often replaced local rulers, imposing British-appointed officials to govern and enforce the interests of the crown. However, in Bechuanaland, the British allowed local chiefs to maintain significant autonomy over internal affairs, partly due to the low level of investment required by the British to oversee the protectorate. The Tswana chiefs retained authority over their people, allowing for a unique situation where traditional governance structures coexisted with colonial rule. These structures proved resilient, and by the time Botswana approached independence, the country was better positioned for a smooth transition to self-governance than many other former colonies. Notably, the legacy of Tswana leadership during the colonial era established an early foundation for democracy. Figures like Chief Khama, the third of the Bangweto people, exemplified strong, respected leadership that focused on peace, stability, and forward-thinking diplomacy. Khama III, in particular, advocated for education, the preservation of land rights, and policies that would benefit his people despite British oversight. He also managed to navigate colonial pressures with a pragmatic approach, gaining respect and limited cooperation from British authorities. Through this, Tswana leaders retained some control over their lands and affairs, keeping the traditional chieftaincy structure intact and even influencing decisions on matters such as land distribution, which would later play a crucial role in Botswana's independent governance. It is also crucial to note that Botswana had a rocky start at independence. Indeed, at the time of Botswana's independence in 1966, the nation faced daunting challenges. It was one of the poorest countries in the world, with an economy heavily reliant on British financial support. Botswana had only 12 kilometers of paved road across its vast territory, a population of about 500,000 people, and limited access to essential services like healthcare and education. With such a weak infrastructure and a lack of resources, many doubted whether Botswana could achieve self-sufficiency or thrive as an independent nation. Despite these bleak prospects, Botswana's first president, Seretse Khama, held a transformative vision for his country. Educated in the United Kingdom, Khama had seen firsthand the importance of economic self-reliance, transparency, and social cohesion in governance. Alongside his trusted ally and vice president, Bechuanaland, Khama pursued a strategy that set Botswana on a path to economic and political stability. Together, they worked to establish democratic foundations that would become cornerstones of Botswana's governance model. This emphasis on democracy and accountability was in stark contrast to many African nations at the time, where single-party or autocratic systems were the norm. From the outset, Khama and Mzire committed to principles of good governance, the rule of law, and careful economic planning. Their approach was to blend traditional values with modern democratic ideals. Botswana's governance model encouraged open dialogue, respect for legal frameworks, and policies focused on long-term prosperity. By adopting a multi-party democratic system, the new government ensured political pluralism and provided for peaceful transitions of power, which laid a firm foundation for political stability. This commitment to democracy allowed Botswana to avoid the cycles of political upheaval that troubled many post-colonial states in Africa. One of Khama's critical priorities was fostering economic self-sufficiency. Although Botswana initially lacked exploitable resources, Khama recognized the potential for economic growth through sound planning and management. The country's first leaders prioritized building infrastructure, promoting education, and seeking partnerships with foreign investors. With few resources at their disposal, Khama's government focused on securing reliable revenue streams and invested in public goods that would benefit the entire population. This approach was a significant departure from the patterns of corruption and mismanagement seen in other newly independent countries. By establishing a tradition of accountability and fiscal discipline, Botswana's leadership set a strong precedent for future governance. Botswana's commitment to transparency and accountability helped establish trust between the government and its citizens. This trust fostered a sense of national unity and social cohesion, which were essential in the early years of independence. While many African leaders resorted to authoritarian measures to consolidate power, Khama promoted democratic values, believing that a government should be responsive to its people. The resulting stability and political openness created an environment conducive to development and attracted foreign investors, who were reassured by Botswana's rule of law and transparency. By the time diamonds were discovered in the late 1960s, Botswana's leadership had already laid a foundation for growth and good governance. One of Botswana's most significant achievements is its stable democratic governance. While numerous African nations grappled with coups, dictatorships, and one-party states, Botswana emerged as a beacon of democracy through its commitment to a multi-party system, regular elections, and the principles of transparency and accountability. This democratic culture was profoundly influenced by the traditional Katla system, deeply rooted in the Tswana heritage, which allowed for community participation and consensus in decision-making. The Katla, a traditional gathering place for community discussion, embodies the participatory governance ethos that has characterized Botswana's political landscape. In these settings, village leaders consult their constituents before making decisions, fostering a culture of inclusivity and shared responsibility. This system has played a crucial role in embedding democratic values within the national consciousness, making these principles more acceptable and relatable to the people of Botswana. The Katla's emphasis on consensus aligns closely with democratic ideals, helping to ease the transition from colonial rule to self-governance. As a result, citizens feel a sense of ownership over the political process, as their voices are integral to decision-making. The Botswana Democratic Party, or BDP, led by Seretse Khama, was pivotal in promoting democratic governance during a time when many African nations were gravitating towards centralized authoritarian regimes. The BDP's foundational principles prioritize national unity and development over divisive politics, creating a governance framework centered on a collective good rather than individual or political gain. This vision resonated with the public, leading to a strong and enduring political identity that emphasized stability and progress. Khama's leadership was instrumental in solidifying these democratic values. He championed a meritocratic civil service, ensuring that government appointments were based on competence rather than personal connections. This merit-based system was vital for maintaining an effective and honest administration, contributing to the overall legitimacy of the government. By avoiding clientelist politics, Khama set a standard that encouraged integrity and professionalism within the civil service, reducing opportunities for corruption and mismanagement. The establishment of checks and balances further reinforced Botswana's commitment to democracy. An independent judiciary and a free media were essential in holding officials accountable, creating an environment where government actions could be scrutinized. This framework helped to prevent the corruption that has hindered development in many other African nations. Botswana's leaders recognized the importance of these institutions in maintaining public trust and ensuring that the government remained responsive to the needs of its citizens. The political stability achieved through this culture of accountability has had profound implications for Botswana's economic growth and social cohesion. The government's transparency and commitment to the rule of law have attracted foreign investment, fostering a favorable environment for sustainable development. This approach has allowed Botswana to harness its natural resources effectively, channeling revenues into public goods such as education and healthcare. In 1967, just a year after independence, Botswana's fortunes changed with the discovery of the Orapa diamond mine, one of the largest deposits in the world. For many resource-rich countries, the discovery of valuable minerals has led to the so-called resource curse, a phenomenon where countries with abundant natural resources experience corruption, economic instability, and conflict. Botswana's government, however, was determined to avoid this fate. Seretse Khama and his advisors understood the potential pitfalls of resource wealth. Rather than allowing foreign companies or domestic elites to monopolize diamond profits, the government negotiated a joint venture with De Beers, the world's largest diamond company. Through this agreement, the government of Botswana acquired a 50% stake in the diamond mines, ensuring that half of the profits flowed directly into the national treasury. Revenue from diamonds was managed with remarkable prudence. Instead of spending it on luxurious projects or political patronage, the government invested in infrastructure, healthcare, and education. The government established the Pula Fund, a sovereign wealth fund, to save surplus revenue for future generations. This fund provided a financial safety net that protected Botswana from economic downturns and ensured that diamond wealth benefited the entire population. Botswana's management of its diamond resources is one of the most successful examples of resource governance in the world. By prioritizing long-term investments over short-term gains, Botswana has created a sustainable model that other resource-rich countries could emulate. This approach to diamond wealth has allowed Botswana to build a robust economy and set the foundation for future growth, even as diamond resources gradually deplete. Furthermore, Botswana's government recognized early on that human capital development was essential for long-term prosperity. At independence, literacy rates were low and access to education was limited. To address this, the government launched a comprehensive campaign to expand education, building schools across the country and providing resources for teacher training. The government's efforts paid off, and by the 1980s, Botswana had achieved near-universal primary education. In 1982, the University of Botswana was established, providing higher education opportunities for citizens and reducing the country's reliance on foreign experts. This emphasis on education improved literacy rates, increased skilled labor, and empowered citizens to participate in the economy. Similarly, Botswana made significant strides in healthcare. When the HIV/AIDS epidemic emerged in the 1980s, Botswana initially struggled, as it had one of the highest infection rates in the world. However, the government responded with a comprehensive HIV/AIDS treatment program supported by international partners. Botswana became the first African country to provide free antiretroviral treatment to all citizens, dramatically reducing mortality rates and enabling people to lead productive lives. These investments in education and healthcare have been essential to Botswana's success. A healthy, educated population is better equipped to drive economic growth, participate in governance, and foster social cohesion. Botswana's approach to human capital development has contributed to its reputation as a well-governed and stable country, making it an attractive destination for investment and tourism. Infrastructure is the backbone of economic development, and Botswana's government recognized this early and prioritized building roads, railways, and telecommunications networks to support growth. At independence, the country had almost no infrastructure, with only 12 kilometers of paved road. Over the next few decades, Botswana invested heavily in infrastructure, building thousands of kilometers of roads and connecting major towns and trade routes. The development of infrastructure has had a transformative impact on Botswana's economy. Improved transportation has reduced costs for businesses, facilitated the movement of goods and people, and enabled the growth of sectors like tourism. The expansion of infrastructure has also allowed Botswana to connect with regional markets, strengthening its position within the Southern African Development Community and enhancing trade opportunities. In addition to physical infrastructure, Botswana has invested in digital infrastructure to support a modern economy. The government has promoted internet connectivity and mobile telecommunications, enabling citizens to access information, education, and financial services. This focus on infrastructure has helped diversify Botswana's economy and create new opportunities for growth beyond the diamond sector. While diamonds have driven Botswana's economy, the government has long recognized the need to diversify to avoid dependence on a single resource. Over the years, Botswana has pursued a diversification strategy focused on tourism, manufacturing, and financial services. Tourism, in particular, has become a significant contributor to the economy. Botswana's natural beauty and unique wildlife make it a popular destination for ecotourism, especially in areas like the Okavango Delta and Chobe National Park. The government has adopted a low-volume, high-value tourism model which limits environmental impact and generates substantial revenue. This model has not only preserved Botswana's natural heritage, but also created jobs and supported local communities. Manufacturing and financial services have been slower to develop, but remain areas of focus. The government has created special economic zones and offered tax incentives to attract investment in these sectors. While progress has been gradual, the government's commitment to diversification reflects its determination to build a more resilient and sustainable economy. Despite its successes, Botswana faces social challenges, particularly in terms of inequality and unemployment. The wealth generated by diamonds has not been evenly distributed, and poverty remains a problem, especially in rural areas. Additionally, high youth unemployment poses a challenge to social stability and economic growth. To address these issues, the government has introduced social programs aimed at supporting vulnerable populations, such as cash transfers for low-income households and subsidized housing. It has also invested in vocational training and skills development to improve employability, particularly for young people. However, these initiatives require sustained effort and innovative policies to address the root causes of inequality and ensure that economic growth benefits all citizens. In conclusion, Botswana's story is a compelling testament to the power of good governance, strategic resource management, and a commitment to human capital development. It stands as a counter-narrative to the pervasive belief that African nations are fated to a cycle of poverty and instability. By showcasing how wise leadership and inclusive policies can lead to prosperity, Botswana inspires other African countries to rethink their paths toward development. At the heart of Botswana's success lies its strong governance framework, which prioritizes accountability, democracy, and citizen participation. Following its independence in 1966, Botswana established a multi-party democratic system that embraced regular elections and upheld the rule of law. This commitment to transparency and good governance has fostered political stability, allowing the nation to focus on economic growth and social progress. Other African nations can learn from Botswana's approach by recognizing the importance of building strong democratic institutions that engage citizens in governance processes. Establishing trust between the government and the populace is essential in cultivating a sense of ownership and accountability, which can drive collective efforts toward national development. Moreover, Botswana's strategic management of its natural resources, particularly diamonds, serves as a valuable lesson for other resource-rich nations, rather than falling victim to the so-called resource curse, which often plagues countries endowed with valuable commodities. Botswana has utilized its diamond wealth to fund infrastructure, education, and healthcare. By channeling resource revenues into public goods, Botswana has transformed its economy and improved the quality of life for its citizens. This strategic resource management is critical for other African nations to emulate, as it demonstrates that with prudent planning and a focus on sustainable development, resource wealth can be a catalyst for progress rather than a source of conflict and corruption. Botswana's emphasis on human capital development further underscores its successful model. Recognizing that the strength of a nation lies in its people, Botswana invested heavily in education and healthcare. This investment has resulted in a skilled workforce capable of driving economic growth and innovation. Other African countries can draw inspiration from Botswana's commitment to human development, understanding that investing in education and health is not just a moral obligation, but also an economic imperative. By prioritizing human capital, nations can equip their citizens with the skills necessary to thrive in a rapidly changing global economy. In addition to governance and resource management, Botswana's inclusive policies offer important insights for other African nations. By promoting national unity and social cohesion, Botswana has cultivated a sense of belonging among its diverse population. This inclusivity has been crucial in preventing ethnic tensions and fostering a stable society. For nations grappling with divisions, Botswana's experience highlights the importance of creating inclusive political and social environments that embrace diversity as a strength rather than a weakness. While it is essential to acknowledge that each African country has its unique context and challenges, Botswana's story provides a glimmer of hope for those seeking a brighter future for the continent. The key lesson learned from Botswana's journey is that with the right leadership and policies, achieving prosperity is not only possible but attainable. As other African countries reflect on Botswana's successes, they should find the encouragement needed to pursue their own development journeys, transforming the narrative around Africa from one of despair to one of hope and opportunity. Your perspective matters. Do you think your country could benefit from following Botswana's development model? Or do you think Botswana was simply lucky to find its diamonds and develop from them? Share your thoughts and insights in the comments section below. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to the New Africa channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our informative future videos. Stay informed, stay engaged, and thank you for watching.